All right, guys, I'm going to go into some of the calls from today. And then also, I think I've got some pretty good trading lessons lined up, but I'm trying to be quick. It's late at night. I got a house full of people. Just got back from a movie, but I still like to put out some videos every night. So ELN, R. Brown, one of our all-stars in chat room, called ELN at 1287, which was right about here, which would have put the stop at the low of the day, 13 cents below from 1287 pretty quickly, as you can see. Moved to 1348. So that's why R. Brown is an all-star. Before I go into the trading lessons, some real good charts that gave great lessons today, in my opinion, on how you should think when watching a setup unfold. Okay, but real quick, let me go into some other highlights real quick. SCSS, we know the mattress companies have been decimated. You can see the big gap down yesterday. All right, when TPX actually started to move today, let me get the gap out of there. And then, so I looked at SCSS as a sympathy play. Called it over this base, 2132 trigger idea. So if it gets up to here, worst case stop, 21, where is it? 2114, I think, okay? So there's the trigger, moves up okay, meanders, and then comes back down, and then really, really rips later in the afternoon. Never did stop out, so anyone that just let their stop work was able to sell into this. I ended up with just sandwich money on it. On the first pop, I was out. Well, I was out some. I went to a break-even stop on the rest. So, and then by the time it did this, it just I didn't want to chase, and I wasn't watching it at the time it ripped. I believe they came out and reiterated their guidance or something. So it was a great stock to watch. TPX, same thing. TPX. A couple of our members were watching this when it looked like this, and asked me about it, and I agreed that over 2140, this could be a nice idea, because it also decimated yesterday, even more so than SCSS. Okay, so there's the trigger, but I wasn't watching it at the time. Some of our members, I think, caught it right there, but once it pulled back, okay, and you've seen me talk about this in a lot of videos, the pullback's interesting to me. I always switch to 2-minute candles as my default, so you can kind of see here. There's the break, zoomed in on 2-minute candles. Look at the stair-step pattern, consecutive lower highs on twos. I typed into chat, very clean twos pullback on TPX, something along those lines, which would have been the first break of a previous 2-minute candles high, 2145 in this case, right there, and your stop goes below the previous candle's low, 2139. So on 6 cents risk, anyone that took the twos pullback idea I gave from 21, what did I say the trigger was? 2145. I'll switch to fives now, which was right in here where the arrow is. It went almost to 2280. Very nice one there. CLNE, kind of another example like that. Out of the blue, just takes off on volume. I actually switched to ones on this one, okay? And it looked like this, and I called it on a 1-minute candle idea, which means first break of a previous 1-minute candle's high. See how see how you have the stair steps? The high of this candle, 1405, so 1406 is the trigger right there. Stop goes below this previous candle, 1391, and from 1406, I don't know, about 7 minutes later, it's at 1460 something. Very nice trade. I love when they work quickly like that. All right, I talked about CLNE, ELN. Okay, now, more importantly than the ideas that were put forth in chat, are some nice trading lessons. And, you know, here, Best Buy, gap down, okay? Bounces to, I always use the 8-period moving average and 20-period moving average, usually on a 5-minute candle basis, okay? So what you look for is the bounce here into the 8-period moving average, okay? Sellers typically are going to come in on a weak stock. They came in, push it to lows of the day. But if you look at it, they didn't really push it much farther than the low of the day, and it was right back up to the 8-period moving average again and basing. One of our members, Jeffrey, said, hey, Mike, what about this over 1840, okay? To which I astutely replied, I see what you're looking at, Jeffrey. We've got a battle now. Sellers weren't really that strong. Could be a good long over 1840, but I'm going to default to my my famous answer of no opinion, because it really is chopping sideways. I think at the time the market was chopping sideways to, I think even just sideways to slightly weak. I can't remember now, but that was my astute answer, and look what happens. 1840, and it's just off to the races, okay? So I didn't dismiss the idea, but I didn't jump on board and take the trade either. But the only reason I bring it up is beautiful idea by Jeffrey, and he was using that flexible bias we talk about, right? You're thinking, okay, shorts coming in here, they push down, shorts coming in again here on this red candle, and they're really not being able to push it down again, probably a good long. All right, now to my credit, I did point out Best Buy when it looked like this, when they come back down, especially after the gap down and then it rips through the high of the day. This pullback is buyable all day long. I love it around the 520, and I did tell the chat room members, hey, this is coming back down to one of our favorite buy zones around the 520. All right, and then a beautiful turn. If anyone grabbed it in that area, it was just off to the races. I mean, even if they took it on 5-minute candles, 1888, 1875 stop, and it goes to 2032. So Best Buy, which isn't that common, very strong today. Probably one of the best lessons of flexible bias I've seen in a while. It's along the same lines as Best Buy. This was not a trade I called in chat, okay? I didn't notice this till afterwards, but I looked at the chart and said, hey, that's a perfect teaching tool for how to think when trading, okay? NAV, big gap down and sells off all morning, all right? Then you get this longer candle. This is possible capitulation, all right? And then you get right back up. So now it looks like the bottom may be in for the day. But you can take the guesswork out of it by just observing still. What happens? It's basing up into that 8-period moving average, 5-minute candles, right? This is where, if sellers are going to come in, this is where they would come in. Now, I'm not willing to short it here because when you get a big gap down, that can be enough of a move that it could be up all day, right? In other words, the gap could compensate for the bad news, and it might not be time to short, right? And sometimes it might be, but anyway, so I don't want to short here. I want to watch and see how strong the sellers are. Look what happens. That red candle, sellers coming in. There's another one. Okay, so far, this is as far as they could push it down. This is hardly a push back to the low of the day. So this is a great lesson. Possible capitulation here. Okay, sellers coming in here, and they can only push it down this far. All right. So now you just want to watch and say, you know what? There's just a battle going on, but sellers really aren't having any luck pushing this down. I like it long over this base. Look what happens. There's the trigger. You could even had a little bit of a base break right here, but even if you took it here, and the beauty of the base is you put your stop below the base, okay? And it meandered for a while, and then it was just crazy off to the races. Again, I did not call this one. It's just a great teaching tool. Let's just say over this base 2110, stop goes around 2096. What is that, 14 cents risk? And from 2110, it goes to 25.94. You know what? And this should have been on my radar because of the gap down. So there's a great example of using flexible bias, staying on the sidelines, picking which team is jumping in, right? Shorts coming in, sellers coming in, whatever you want to call them. They're not very strong. Now we've got a battle. I'm going long over this base. I mean, that's beautiful, okay? Best Buy was kind of along those same lines, and you could even make the same argument for Coach. Some of our members, one of our All-Stars called Coach around 60 today on this sell-off, not just because of the sell-off, not just looking for an intraday bottom, but if you look at the daily, okay, Coach would pretty significant around 60 bucks, okay? Support here, resistance here, a long base here. So 60 bucks was relevant on Coach. So then when you see the intraday sell-off and then you go to the daily, this makes sense. I was not involved in Coach myself because they were trading and I was doing something else. Didn't even see the post till after. I'm not going to chase, okay? But Coach, watch it again. You already know it has support at 60, okay? So what do you want to do? You want to watch sellers come in here. It's near the 5.8. They're pushing it down. They take it to the low of the day? No. Now, when it looked like this, that's when I realized some people were playing Coach. I said, you know what? Sellers couldn't push it down here. You might have a nice long, what we call a secondary fives. In other words, it triggered on fives here, coming back down. The next break of a previous fives high was my idea. I said could work on Coach, all right? And there's the trigger right there, all right? Over this candle, and the stop goes below the 2-candle low. But even if you didn't do that, right here, you have the kind of the same scenario. It's up through the 5.8. Support at 60. Sellers come in, okay? If these sellers fail, this is probably going higher. If nothing else, at least to the 520. And then boom, goes to the 520. Look what happens. Another little hiccup. Sellers push it down and right back up. At this point, when you see this break, you know you've really caught one. Anyone that took that at 60, if I saw this happen and was in it, I would say I'm not selling any till it touches my 520. which would have been right there. Anyway, some good lessons. The important thing that I'm trying to get across in these videos and to our members is to watch. There's no hurry. You don't have to try to catch the bottom here. You don't have to take it on this first break of a previous fives high. Let the battle ensue, and then use some common sense. Look at the longer term chart, then right there jump on the winning side. And I mean, some big trades today are some great examples of some possible good trades today. And we had some nice calls as well. All right, I'll get out of your ears and we'll talk to you guys later.